Your Highness, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are here at a remarkably historic time. Qatar is one of 5 Arab nations taking part in the strikes against ISIS. Why are you doing this, and are you in it for the long haul?
Well, we're in it because we believe that this is a dangerous movement happening in around our region. And we're going to stay in it, as you said, for, unfortunately, it looks like we're going to stay for a while, everybody, not only Qatar. So we are in it. We believe that we have to counter terrorism, and that is why we are in it. We've been asked by our American friends if we can join, and we did.
Secretary of State Kerry, President Obama himself, have said that this is not about President Assad at the moment. Yes, there's been a 3-year war. Yes, everybody said Assad must go, but this is only about ISIS. Do you agree with that?
Honestly, no, I don't agree. I agree that we have to counter terrorism, yes, but I believe that the main cause of all this is the regime in Syria, and this regime should be punished. As you said, it's more than 3 years now war, and the environment that the Syrian people have been living in, it will create this violence. And we've been saying that from day one, that if we don't stop the bloodshed in Syria, and we don't stop Bashar committing genocide on his own people, this is where we're going to reach. Unfortunately, we are in a situation now that the Syrian people who demanded for their freedom are between a regime, brutal regime, and terrorist acts. So I think it's a whole thing that has to be solved. If we think that we're gonna get rid of terrorist movements and leave those regimes doing what this regime especially doing what he's doing, then terrorist movements will come back again.
So how far can you just agree to be striking ISIS? Will Qatar do something else? Strike Assad targets, regime targets?
Well, Qatar cannot do that by itself, of course. If there's a coalition that will help and protect the Syrian people, we will be part of it. As you know, that we were part of a coalition that helped to free the Libyan people. So we will be part of it because we believe that the main, what caused all this chaos is the Syrian regime.
Are you afraid of backlash? Obviously, these terrorists have been telling their operatives, sympathizers, kill anybody who's cooperating in this campaign. Are you afraid for your own targets?
Well, terrorist movements, of course, it's a threat around the world, not only Qatar or the coalition. Any country, any stable country, any modern country, it's a threat. And Qatar is part of it as well. We take this seriously. And as you said, yeah, it is a threat and we take it seriously.
But it won't derail you?
No, it won't. It won't. Terrorism is something that it's not acceptable in our culture and our religion, so it will not stop us.
You mentioned you're also in this to stop the funding of the terrorist groups. As you know, this is something that President Obama, in fact, all world leaders are saying the only thing that's really going to stop it is the funding. Qatar has been blamed, criticized over the years for either funding or allowing sympathetic sheikhs, mullahs, sympathetic rich people to fund these movements.
Well, we have to see the difference between movements. I know that in America and some countries they look at some movements as terrorist movements. In our part of the region we don't. But if you're talking about certain movements, especially in Syria and in Iraq, we all consider them terrorist movement, and we don't accept any fund for those, and we don't accept anybody funding those groups.
Will you stop them?
Of
the people
course.
Who go to the mosques and whip people up and say we've got to, help jihad?
We have a strong law against funding terrorist groups. But as I said, there's differences between some countries of who are the terrorists and who are the maybe Islamist groups, but we don't consider them as terrorists.
Such as?
Such as groups in Syria, groups in Libya, groups in Egypt as well.
But isn't that a problem then? Because you then have a fundamental difference with some of your coalition partners. And you have been criticized. Qatar has over the years been criticized of sort of throwing money at a lot of these groups. And some of them are troublemakers in Syria. Some of them are extremists. So you're saying that you don't buy that, you don't recognize them as extremists?
No, we do recognize extremists We believe if there are extremists, we believe that they're extremists, and we don't fund extremists. But there are differences. There are differences that some countries and some people, that any group which comes from Islamic background are terrorists, and we don't accept that. And all this is because of political difference. We don't accept that. But people, especially in Syria and Iraq and other Arab countries, who don't believe in the freedom of speech, who don't believe that they have to live with others and accept others, and also accept the choice of the people, their own people, those are the people that we don't fund. Other than that, I believe that we will make a big mistake for any Islamic movement, that we have differences, ideology differences with them. I'm talking about some countries. To consider them extremists, I think this is a big mistake. It's in danger. Other than that, extremists are well known. Terrorist groups are well known, and we know them. Everybody knows them.
So let me ask you specifically then, because this is obviously key to all of this. Some of the Arab coalition partners taking part with you have had differences with you over, for instance, the Muslim Brotherhood. You supported the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Now they're out. You housed them, a lot of them, once they were flushed out. And also Hamas, obviously the United States believes, and Israel and many other nations, that that is a terrorist organization. You don't. So does that mean you keep funding them?
Going back to the first point that you mentioned, that we had differences with with some of our brother neighboring countries. It is true, yes, we had differences. There was a confusion in the beginning of the Arab Spring, and for everybody, especially in our region, because it happens in our neighbors, in our neighboring countries. Everybody took a different step, foreign policy. We took our foreign policy, which we believe was right at that moment, that we helped and we stood by the Arab people who demanded for their dignity and for freedom. What happened after that election? Egyptian people elected government or elected the Muslim Brotherhood. We gave aid to the Egyptian government before the Muslim Brotherhood, during the military government after the step down of Hosni Mubarak. People were saying that we support the Muslim Brotherhood. We don't support, we support the Egyptian government. We supported them during Mr. Tantawi. We supported them also during the Prime Minister Issam Sharaf. We supported them during Ms. Morsi, and we support them also during the former President Adli Mansour, and we still support them. So something to do with the Muslim Brotherhood. We know that Muslim Brotherhood, after what happened in Egypt a year ago, after the coup that happened in Egypt, many of them left, and some of them came to Qatar because they were threatened and they were afraid. So yes, they were in Qatar, and they were safe in Qatar as long as they didn't practice any political or any ideas. They're always welcomed in Qatar.
Are they still there?
Some of them are still there. Some of them are leaving because they believe that this is the moment for them to practice politics, and they know the rules of the country, that as long as you're here, you cannot practice politics against any other Arab country.
As long as they're in Qatar?
As long as they're in Qatar.
Hamas, will you continue to support Hamas?
We support all Palestinian people. We believe Hamas is a very important part of the Palestinian people. As I said, we have differences with friends that, for example, they consider them as terrorist groups. We don't. Simply because they're a very important component of the Palestinian people. Going back to history, nearly 10 years ago, we were asked by the Americans if we could talk to Hamas to make them participate in the election which happened in Palestine. And we spoke to them very honestly. It was my father who spoke to them, that we were asked from our American friends that you participate in the next election. And so their answer was, we will, but do you think will the international community accept us? So my father said yes, because I was asked by the Americans for you to join. So it happened. So the thing is, what is the difference between Hamas 10 years ago and Hamas now? I believe the difference is that Hamas are more realistic now. They believe in peace and they want peace. But it's for the other party to believe in peace as well and to be more realistic.
Under your father, there was certain reach out between yourself and Israel, Qatar and Israel. That seems to have gone by the wayside. In fact, an Israeli top diplomat calls Qatar Club Med for terrorists. What happened, and how do you react to that?
Well, we believe in peace, and we, since 1991, and 93 as the Oslo, and after Oslo, we believed in peace, and we helped a lot in trying to make a bridge between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I think the war in Gaza a few years ago, of course, after we cut our official relation with Israel, the amount of dead people and innocent people, this is that is why, as I said, we cut our relation with Israel. But in the same hand, we believe that the only way to get out of it is to have peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians, because we believe in peace, and this is the only way that we should all work together to put pressure on both sides to reach the peace solution.
Could you imagine restarting such a relationship? I mean, it was an important relationship with an Arab nation. It was an important relationship.
We can't start the relation. It's not. Will we or not? I don't think we have a problem in starting the relation with the Israeli, as long as they are serious in making peace and providing and protecting the Palestinian people.
Qatar, over the last decade plus, has gone from being the little emirate that everybody wanted to be friends with, that people were so impressed, that you'd been breaking out of what was perhaps a conventional wisdom kind of mentality in the Middle East, to neither friend nor foe. People are wondering, what is your vision? What is your strategic vision of foreign policy? Some have suggested that, yes, you have a relationship with the United States, but you're neither an ally nor you're really an enemy, because you sometimes back different sides of the coin. And for Qatar, money is the instrument of your foreign policy. What is it? What is it that Qatar stands for?
Well, first of all, money. We're not the only country that has money. I mean, thanks to God, yes, we are a wealthy country, and we have money. Our foreign policy is very simple. As I said before, I answer the question. Since 4 years now, with all the Arab Spring things going on, there was a confusion. But if you go back to our real foreign policy, we believe in dialogue. We provide dialogue. We believe in peace. We are a mediator, and as you know, we were very successful in many parts. I believe this is the thing that I am concentrating in, and I will continue concentrating in. I'm not in a camp against another camp. I have my own way. Our country has own way of foreign policy, own way of thinking, and I think people should respect that. And it's not about the matter of being a friend or not a friend. I have my own way of thinking. I believe in our relation with the United States and other countries as well. But as I said, we are a mediator. We believe in dialogue between nations and countries to solve problems.
Will you continue your father's foreign policy, or do you see yourself expanding in certain areas, retreating in certain areas?
Well, I think every person has his own policy. But going back to the policy of my father, I think it was the best policy that Qatar could take, especially in dialogue and trying to solve problems around the region and around the world, and being a mediator. I think this is a policy that we're trying to work on, that my father started, and this is going to be my policy. Of course, there are differences. You never know what happens in the future. It depends on what goes on. But I think this is the main thing that we're going to concentrate in the near future.
For instance, can you see a negotiated solution somehow in Syria? Because again, you are blamed, others are blamed for backing, funding certain groups who you're allied with, but that doesn't further the interest of peace. It furthers the interest of continued war.
Yes. I think our aim was to protect the Syrian people, to help them. As you know, beginning of the demonstration or the revolution in Syria, first 3 months it was a peaceful, and everybody was demanding for freedom and dignity. But what happened? The regime started killing and committing a massacre on his own people. Then we said it and we announced it, that we have to protect the Syrian people. We have to provide them even with weapons to protect themselves. So the reason why we help them is for them to protect themselves. And if we didn't, we will see more massacres happening in Syria. Although it's a chaos, yes, we understand it's a chaos, but I think that was the only way that we could have helped the Syrian people.
I'm going to do a hard turn now into sports, the World Cup. Again, a testimony to the heavyweight, or maybe punching above its weight, of Qatar. Many people were very surprised that you got the bid. You're the first Muslim country to have won a bid to host the World Cup. there has been a lot of scrutiny now, of course, as you know. Human rights groups, for instance, have been very, very upset by the death of many migrant workers, 1,000 plus to this date, and maybe many more by the time the stadiums are finished. Is this what Qatar wants to be known for? Is there something that you can do right now to enforce the rights and the laws that you've enacted, to enforce the application of these laws so that migrant workers have safety and dignity?
First of all, about the World Cup, as you know, I think that we have the right as Muslim countries and Arab countries to host such a big event like that. And people should understand that Qatar had the best bid, and Qatar will provide and will do one of the best World Cups in history, and I'm sure about that. And I hope that this will happen. But going back, and people don't want to accept, don't want to realize that a small country, Arab, Muslim country, can host a big event like that. As you know, that we had big competitors in this bid, and they don't accept. But I'm confident, and I'm sure that we're going to make an excellent World Cup. Talking about the labors and the problems that we have in Qatar, yes, it's true. We had problems. We're solving the problems. We're enforcing the laws. It's not acceptable. I don't accept personally to see laborers, poor people coming from other countries to come and help us develop our country, and the atmosphere and the environment isn't helpful for them. As you know, the economy has been growing a lot in Qatar, and the amount of people coming to Qatar has been hundreds of thousands. So it is difficult, but in the same hand, it's not acceptable. I don't accept it. It's not.
So you will insist that the laws are enforced,
definitely,
that they get paid their wages,
definitely.
That they work only certain hours, that they, they're tied right now to their employers. They can't even leave if they don't get permission to leave. It's like slave labor.
No, we changed those laws. We changed those laws.
But will they be enforced?
Yes, they are enforced. No, we changed the laws. They are enforced, and there are many laws that have been changed. And I'm telling you, because I'm personally hurt about the situation. I don't accept that, and not even one Qatari accept that. So we are enforcing the laws, and we don't accept things to be happening like that. And things have been changing now on the ground. But as you said, that all the media is concentrating in Qatar due to the World Cup, due to the role of Qatar in many things, and we accept that. But I want them to to show what is Qatar as well. If we have problems, I don't mind them talking about problems, but also they need to talk about other things, about those laws that we did.
And just one last question on the World Cup, because everybody's fascinated by it, sports fans all over the world. There has been a controversy because Qatar is so hot in the summer. If it does stay in Qatar, would you accept that it be in the winter?
Our bid was for it to be in summer, and we've done with the new technologies. We've done a stadium that is air-conditioned stadiums. Actually, we have this technology for 10 years now, and it's working in one of our stadiums.
People are a little bit dubious about that. They say it's unproven.
No, it is. We tried it now for 10 years, and it's working, and it will work. And you're talking about for now 2022, so it will 100% it will be working. So the atmosphere for athletes, or for the football players, and for the fans, and for the training grounds will be excellent. And we've tried this, and fan zones as well will be excellent. We tried it in the last World Cup. There were fan zones around Qatar, and there were thousands attending. It was an open air, but it was air conditioned. So, for the heat, there won't be any problem.
So would you accept that it be in the winter? I just say because FIFA, the medical community, others.
I agree with you. For me, I will accept if to choose the best time for the atmosphere. But I think our bid was for the winter. At the end,
summer.
For the summer. At the end, it's up to the FIFA to decide when is the best time. But for us, we're ready for both, because we need this technology. As you know, our summer is quite long, so we will need this technology to play more matches and for our league, and also for international games. So we will need this technology, whether it's going to be in the winter or the summer.
Qatar is unusual in that your mother, Sheikha Moza, was very visible and very active on behalf of women, arts, culture and education. It was unusual. What are you saying about the rights of women?
I think the rights of women, it's an equal right for everybody. I think women play a very important role in our society. And as you said, my mother played a big role as well, and she's still playing a big role, and especially in education and in our society. So I believe in their role, and I encourage their role, and they are equal to men in jobs and in work, and they should be, and they help a lot in developing our country, and I believe in their role.
On that note, Sheikh Tamim, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be with you. Thank you.